Hey there guys, welcome back to ARTFX Studios. This is Tutorial Tuesday, Season 3. Sorry, almost went wrong right there. No, this is Season number 3, Episode number 14. Neurofunk Drum and Bass. We're going to be working on this track. Now, I did a lot in the past week on this track. The thing is, when I make a drop, and that's where we are right now, we need to make the drop of this track. And when I make a drop, I usually find that I spend a long time just fiddling around, moving bits and pieces around, until I find something that I like. That is quite a boring process, and I don't want to show you that. So instead I actually went in and I did that process already, and I'm now going to talk about what I did and how I did it. So, if we take a look at this project, I'm just going to play you this right now, and you can see there are quite some changes compared to last week, and we'll just have a listen and see what we can do after that. There we go. Getting some slight disc dropouts there, but I'm not gonna worry about that now. Okay, that's kind of weird. The vocal got cut out, but it's still turned on. So okay, that was probably a disc dropout. Now, there's quite some stuff going on, so I might have to actually resample some stuff, especially the cinematic instruments. They're taking up a lot of CPU and RAM, so I think I'll resample those in next week's video.
This is the beginning.
Okay, so it's just gonna continue on like that. As you can hear, I've done quite a lot of stuff. Now, there is one problem though. The build-up sounds much bigger than the drop. That's not a weird thing because, I mean, there's a lot more work put into the build-up than the drop. So we need to do quite some stuff to the drop to make this work. But at least we've got a start right now. And that's something I've been trying to get for quite a while. Now, I'm gonna put on my headphones just so I can hear everything a little bit better. And let's see what we can come up with. So I did a lot of changes. I'm just gonna run you through. Let's see. The bass. I've done a small change to the bass. We have that initial pattern that I created, quite a while ago. Now, I also created this little thing, which I think sounds quite cool. Now, initially I also tried out this, which also sounds quite interesting. I'm just gonna keep them the way I had them, which is that. Now, it sounds good, but there is some stuff that I think this bass is lacking a little bit. I might want to add an additional layer on top of this, but only for the shorter notes, so those notes. This one actually sounds quite cool. I might even replace these notes with the same notes but on a different bass instrument. That might be cool as well. But for now, this sounds quite cool. So I did quite some stuff to the bass. As you can see, I've done a lot of stuff making this initial pattern. And the pattern sounds quite cool, but there's definitely something missing, which I'm not quite sure what. So if you have an idea, if you think what I should add to make this better and to make that work, then please let me know in the comment below, because I'm really getting to a point where I don't really know what to add to this drop yet to make it better. I feel like right on the start, it's missing something. It might be as simple as just adding a couple of crashes in there to emphasize the impacts of the snare. But which I think might work. We can do that. We can try that out in a minute. Now, another thing I did is I need to look at that. I think I did something here. Yeah. So we only had this note, and it was this sustained till here, and we didn't have any of this. So I added those notes, and they create a slightly different character right before the build-up starts. Now, if I listen to this right now, I hear the electric guitar is really loud. Like really loud. here it's going up into a C. So we go up into a C. Just make it a C minor. So I like to just do this.
This is the beginning.
Yeah, that definitely sounds better, because I'm now low passing that towards the end of this, where it actually sounded slightly out of tune. We don't really get much of the duduk anymore because it's almost completely low passed. So those notes now don't interfere with it anymore, but the duduk instrument is still slightly fading out and not just getting cut out immediately like I had earlier. Because I realize now that I had that sustained note going on until here, because right on this part they sounded slightly out of key, out of tune. So I think I did it because of that, but this works I think even better, because we now slightly fade that duduk instrument out instead of just stopping it right at this point, which is going to make the transition between this and the next part slightly weird. So this is slightly better. The tuba is still in there. I don't know if I want to keep this in there. It's really, really loud, and without it, it still sounds really good. Gonna keep it off for now. We also have the low strings, which are doing a good job. We could enable this one, which is just really slightly adding something. Let's add some EQ to this. Just so that we get that. Maybe add a little bit of delay. Yeah, sounds quite cool. Don't really hear it in the mix, but it's just there, right on the impact, to emphasize that hit. Yeah, I quite like that. So I'm gonna copy those over to here.
This is the beginning.
I don't think I want them right here. No, I don't want them right here, so... let's see, what else did I do? Did I did something to the percussion? No, I haven't done something to the percussion. The effects, pretty much still the same. I just copied over this one to there to give it that. Give it that little bit of a sucking kind of sound, which really works, by the way. We have this one. I could try out to... It's not really what I want. It's a little bit too much, I guess. So let's just try a crash. I think a crash will work pretty much. I have a couple of crashes, right? That's a crash. Let's EQ that crash. Because there's a little bit of a low end in here as well. Just like that. Now, I'm gonna make a... Let's see. I'm gonna try out to just put these on the start of the drop. I like the sound of that, but I don't like the sound of that cymbal at that part. We also have a short cymbal. These cymbals sound a little bit too much cinematic. So I'm just gonna try and find another cymbal that I like. That one is quite interesting. Let me create a new audio track. Let me add that cymbal right there. And let me zoom in. So that cymbal is then going to be somewhere around here. Maybe bring the volume down a bit. That sounds quite cool, right? So it's starting to sound a bit better with that crash in there. Let's high pass that crash. Just to give it just those upper harmonics. Now, there's always something you can do, and that's trying out a different one. This might be really loud, by the way. Sorry. Let's just... So that's starting to sound good. I like that. So I'm just gonna copy that throughout the drop of the track, which I think is this. Yeah. Let's duplicate this to there. So, it's starting to sound good, but there's definitely something that I don't really like. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about this. I added a little loop to the drums, and that loop is really adding a lot to the drums itself, because without that loop, so you can hear that without it sounds almost like there's not much going on at all, and with it, it's just much bigger. Now, this loop is actually a whole bunch of loops coming from the June Miller drum and bass pack that's released on Loop Masters. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so it's actually this drum loop 1 in the construction kits. It's the June Miller pack. See, it's basically those little loops, and they're much longer than this. I mean, the actual loops are. Let's see if I can show you. Yeah, the actual loops are much longer. There's something like this. And I high-passed them, and I added a whole bunch of compression. Because without the compression, and that's pretty cool, without the compression, this sounds really weak. So with the compression, it's actually much heavier, and it actually fills out the whole drum loop, and that's what I wanted. That's why I wanted to use a loop for that. Now, as you can see, I basically chopped up those 6 loops. Those 6 loops got completely chopped up, and I basically took parts of it that I liked and rearranged those into something that I think works. And it sounds quite interesting. So that's what I'm doing right there. I'm just chopping it up and making it work with the drums, because the actual loops in this pack play a different rhythm than my drum loop was playing. So I had to chop it up and rearrange everything to work with my main drums. And you can see that if I open up the main drums. These are the snares, and you can see that they line up with those snares. Now, in this part, you can see I actually took that snare that was right here and placed it right there. So I aligned it with this snare, and I just took a different part of one of the loops that I liked and put it right here to fill out that particular gap, and just make it work. Now you can see I'm cutting out the loop from the first kick drum. So the first kick drum is not layered with any of these percussion loops, any of these top layers. So I'm doing that because you get a more solid impact of the bass drum right on that first hit, because it's not getting saturated by the rest of the drum loop, which is pretty cool. Makes the first kick drum a little bit more heavier, because right here, on this part right here in this kick drum, for instance, that kick drum gets layered with this and layered with a hi-hat, so the volume of that part is going to be louder than this part, and thus it will trigger more compression on that particular kick drum. So this kick drum might actually sound louder than that one, even though it has the additional hi-hat on top of it. I don't know. It's just a matter of trial and error. I was working with it and I found out that sounded better. So that's why I did it. And that's what you should always do. Now, yeah, so what can we do? I also did that one. That's pretty interesting. It sounds like almost like one of these telephone sounds. I know it's pretty simple. How do you create this? This is the actual sound without any processing. Right, so that's just a sine wave. It comes in already during this part.
Beginning.
I just felt that little thing added a bit more interest to that part of the track. And okay, that makes it sound a little bit better. Maybe it's the fact that this one is quite loud, that the drop sounds weaker than the build-up. Let's see. I made that telephone kind of sound by just simply high-passing this. You don't have to high-pass it per se. I mean, it's a sine wave, and a sine wave is just one frequency, so there's not really much use in high-passing this, but I've done it. I also added a redux with a downsample at 63. Now, this means, and this means a lot. I mean, let's just play. So that's the note that I'm using. If I play one semitone higher, it sounds really weird. And if I play one semitone lower, it also sounds quite weird. So only the G note that I'm playing works. So that's because of the downsampling right here. I'm downsampling this a lot. So I'm totally crushing this sine wave. And that means that if you use a different root note, to recreate the sound, you would actually have to fine-tune the downsampling. If I, for instance, want to play that note instead of that note, then I'll have to bring the downsampling down, I guess. Right, so on the key of F, I would actually have to put this at 59 to get a similar sound. And now it just sounds weird. So that's quite interesting. Now, if I put the EQ8 after the redux, I can see if this has actually introduced some low end. Not much, but it's always good to just high pass this. And I also decided to add an auto filter. I'm using that to gradually bring this in instead of having it come in immediately. Like that. So it begins a little bit more quiet. So you don't really hear it immediately. So I really like this. However, there is some stuff that I want to change. I definitely want to add a more pronounced drum fill right here. I like that sound, but I think I want to layer that with something. Now I have a few of these drum fills right here that might work. Or we could build it ourselves. That's also an option. It's not really that difficult, I guess. The last two sounds are pretty much the same. I guess we could recreate something like that. Just create a new audio track and see what we can do. Doesn't really sound the way I want it to. I might just keep the one that I have. I mean, it sounds good. Quite like the sound of it, actually, so I might just use that. Bring the volume up a bit. Let's just keep it. Let's just do this with that in it. The main drums might need some more work. I like the way they sound, but there's definitely something with them that makes everything sound quite weird. Now, another thing because we are working so much on this track now, and I have been talking about mixing last week, and I actually mixed this down. However, last week we didn't have any drums yet, so I find out that right now everything is quite loud compared to the drums. So I feel like I'm gonna bring everything down a little bit further until we get the drums at first. So the drums are going to be most up front. Then I'll have to mix in the bass to make that work with the drums. Which might actually be good already. I might just want to take this down a slightly little bit. Don't want to add too much reverb to your bass track, Too much reverb will kill the bass. And we don't want that. So definitely be sure to take out all the sub from this, because you can see we're getting quite some sub in the reverb, and we don't want that. Just to clean everything up. It's really important to keep everything clean. It is quite a long reverb, I guess. Yeah. I don't think we need that. This one. Yeah, this is shorter reverb. Yeah, that sounds much better. So now I can also bring the bass back up. We might want to do some sidechain compression, and that's the last thing I'm gonna do for today. And then we're gonna go and go and end this video. But let's do some sidechain compression on this. I like to use the normal Ableton compressor for sidechain compression. It's a pretty good one. And for now, I'm just gonna sidechain it to the main drums. But it's always good to do it with a, how do you say that, sidechain trigger clip. So just a small little clip of white noise or a hi-hat that actually triggers the compression. Now dinner's almost ready, so I gotta end this video right now. Let's do this. Sidechain input coming from the main drums. And for now I'll just EQ this. So let's bring this down. We don't need much sidechain compression, we just need a little bit, so that it makes room for the drums. I don't know if you can hear that, but it just slightly makes the drums a little bit more upfront. I guess that's it for this week's video. Now, if you like this video, then you can like this video, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. You can also come to my website, where I have launched a music production forum where you can actually post your music, get some feedback, where you can ask your questions and get an in-depth answer from me or from other producers on the forum. There's also Q&A on the forum. You can ask me any question you want and I'll answer them. Other than that, y'all, I hope you like this video and I hope to see you back next week in Tutorial Tuesday. Peace.